Good morning, afternoon, evening, friends and family, loved ones. This is your friend Kelly, and another not so quick video, I'm sure. And I'm going to be doing a lanyard on my Crusader from Burkle's Cerakote. Just to let you know. And let's see here, what am I going to do? Now, what I did was I had thought about doing. Actually, originally I thought about doing this because it's more of a darker-ish version. I know it's hard to tell. They look close, but this one is lighter, where this one is more purple, dark purple, and pink. And where this purple is kind of a pinkish purplish, more lavenderish color. I was debating on doing that. Then I saw, when I was digging around, I saw this was a little bit lighter, more pink, and just strictly purple. Then I was like, and I really debated on using this one. And I know it's hard to tell. This is kind of a shockwave pattern where it's pink, but it also has blues kind of going across, so it gives it a little bit of a different color on it. And I was like, that actually would look really good, but it's a lot of brightness. You guys know me. Most of my lanyards, other than me throwing the neon green in occasionally, has quite a bit of dark. I'm not into the really bright in your face colors a lot of the times. Every now and then I do like it. It's just what mood strikes me. And I was actually leaning towards this, and I'm like, I'm still really on the fence on that one. And I've got a purple skull that I 3D printed that's like a Terminator skull that I'm going to put on it because I thought that actually the color filament that I used was pretty spot on, more of a lavenderish color. Then I was like digging around, and I had this where it's mostly black with like a reflective line with pink, and it's kind of a silverish color. And I'm like, it's not in your face, but that kind of really goes well with it. And you figure when I add that to it, with the silver kind of in, it'll kind of take a little bit of the purplish color, lavender, whatever. I think this ended up being the one I decided is going to be the winner. Until I get tired of it and decide I want to do something else. And any of you guys that know me know how I am about this. Let's go. And no, I didn't pre-cut the paracord again. I probably should, just to cut down on time, but what the heck, right? I'm not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. Well, you might be going somewhere. You might say, Kelly, enough of this. I'm out of here. You've done enough of these things, which is fine too. I appreciate you guys checking in and spending time with me and liking and commenting and giving me your thoughts on what I'm doing and how I'm doing, if you like it or not. But this, I think, with just the splash of color, is going to be about perfect. And this one, I have to see where I'm going to want, how many knots I'm going to want, because I do need a little bit of grip for my pinky. But since the way he did the lanyard on this, there's not a, I can have that one really snug up in there and just loose enough to where it will move. And if you're doing your own lanyards, do the knots tight. Make sure you get those in there as tight as you can. It helps keep them from unraveling or coming loose over time. That's why you'll see me kind of snug it up multiple times as I'm doing it in different angles to make sure the cord, I'm pulling on each one and pushing up on it at the same time. And normally I like to put a minimum of 3 knots on any lanyard, a minimum. Sometimes, depending on how much of a grip you have, you want more. But for me, for aesthetic looks, you want 3 minimum. And so you guys can see. You figure if I'm carrying it, that right there will be perfect. And it gives a little bit extra in case Brian ever decides to carry my knife, which I doubt that he will, but you never can tell. It may end up, and I'm going to have to do another. I didn't really show it well last time. When you're doing and you're trying to meld them together, kind of cut them at an angle. And then stack them with the angles matching up. And then, ouch, try to smush it together to where it kind of comes more to a point. I don't know if my lighter's... I think my lighter's dead. Yep, it's cranked all the way up. Yep, it's done. Okay, lower it down. If you don't know, butane lighters, you're supposed to fill them when they're at the lowest and when they're completely empty. And I try to more or less make it a point and twisting it as it goes in to work it through the hole. Helps feed it through. And sometimes if you need to, you can get a pair of pliers and pull, and once you can get a hold of it to do. And this one I melted better than I did last time, so let's cut and yep, it's good. But it's one of those things. The more you do this, the easier and quicker it is. You may think, and anybody that does work for trade, what it is, say, oh, well, it doesn't cost that much for this, and it doesn't cost that much for that. But, you know, the time that the person does, the money they have invested in buying an assortment of, I can't tell you how much money I've spent on paracord and beads and other stuff, other things that didn't work out, wires that I had bought to try different things that I honestly did, and people just didn't seem to be interested in it, and I probably wasted hundreds of dollars on stuff that there's really no recouping it. And gosh forbid, I'm already, and see, this is why I usually take it out when I do this, because it's a pain trying to do the diamond knot while it's in the sheath. I like being able to angle it better, but there's a lot of money that goes into the setup and learning, and as you're going, and waste. All of that has to be taken into consideration for the cost of things. and just sitting there basically doing a, oh well, it only costs this for that. Why that person charge $20 for something that there's only $5 worth of product in it? I have had one person do that to me, and it's like, well, it's not just that. You're paying for my expertise. Well, it only takes you a couple minutes to do it. And I'm like, okay, then if it only takes me a couple minutes to do it, and it's only this much, you can do it yourself. Well, I don't have the paracord. Exactly. And if I buy the paracord, it's going to cost me almost $10 for a 100-foot hang. And what am I going to do with the extra paracord? Okay. But it only costs so much with the product and stuff that I'm doing. So, and by the time they figure out that, okay, and plus I have to ship it to you if it's a shipping thing, especially with the cost of shipping. Oh my gosh. But, I sit there and all of you guys know, I do a lot of giveaways. I give a lot to the community. I don't mind doing it. I like doing it. I think people appreciate it for the most part. Do I wish I could sell more? Yeah. Don't we all like to be able to make more money? Sure we do. Sometimes I just would love to be able to cover the cost of shipping and the cost of the product. My time, I'm not as much worried about on a lot of this stuff, but also it's one of those things when I get charged for buying something that somebody's making, I sit there and think, I really need to start charging properly for this stuff and not just basically give it away. Though honestly, I'm willing to trade for stuff. I mean, if you want me to do something, that's one of the things that I'm usually more than willing to do. If somebody's got a trade idea that they want to do. And one thing I'm going to show you, because since I just did that, if you ever do a pick on the paracord, trim it off, do a light to it. And also, if you need to, if it still leaves because that one was a pretty bad pick. A lot of times if you light it, you can kind of like rub it and work it in to where it doesn't as bad. And if honestly, this one's mine, I'm not that worried about it. If I did that bad of a pick instead of just a little small one, I would probably honestly undo this and redo it. Even though you wouldn't be able to tell that I did that, but it's one of those things. I got a little booger from my 3D print. Those of you that don't know 3D print, a lot of times will leave a little bit of light stringing occasionally, and you don't want to actually have the heat going any length of time on it, but a light, it's almost like a cobweb light poof to help it will work. But it's one of those things. You learn as you go what works, what doesn't work, and whatnot. Oh my goodness, that's being a pain. These are not my normal needle nose pliers that I use. They're out in the living room, as I do a lot of this out there normally. But that's what me tightening this down on the second trip around is time consuming because I have to work at it a little bit at a time. And that's pretty much that. And I've got my little Terminator skull bead with the pinkish, like I said, it kind of those are actually little white dashes in between the pink. but with the colors on it, it'll kind of pick up the colors that are around it. And there we go. I don't think that turned out too terribly bad. But whether or not you would have wanted this particular combination, I don't know. But that's what's great about this. There's so many different paracord colors and combinations and different things that you could have me do or do yourself, that it's wonderful. But another quick lanyard, or semi-quick. I mean, like I have a tendency to do, I ramble on. Me and Ken have more in common than people realize. Love you, Ken Faulkner. I'll talk to you later. You guys have a wonderful day. Many hugs, many kisses, much love. Your friend Kelly. Bye-bye.